Welcome back. We are here for the 5th episode of the Huskies Unleashed podcast presented by Innovation Federal Credit Union. You're probably wondering why there's a trophy sitting on our table right now. But before we get into that, let's take a look at what happened around Huskie Athletics over the last 2 weeks. We'll start off kind of where our last episode set up, a couple of big playoff performances, or big playoff games, sorry. The first of which was our Husky women's soccer team, who was heading to Victoria for the Canada West quarterfinals. They took on the UVic Vikes. Unfortunately, they did lose that game, ending their season after a great run, but a tough 1-0 loss after a goal in the 78th minute late in that one gave the Vikes the win to move on to the semifinals.
Yeah, difficult result there for our women's soccer team, but at the end of the day, they ran into a good team in the Vikes who they made a run as well in the playoffs there. I believe they made it all the way to the championship. So, yeah, no shame in losing to them, but I'm sure they'd like to have performed a bit better to end their year. But, that's sports at the end of the day.
For sure, yeah. You can't win them all, unfortunately. And still had some great recognition at the end of that season. 2 All-Stars in Alyssa Dagnoni and Nami Nguyen, both second-team Canada West All-Stars. And then Anna Oliver was recognized as the Student Athlete Community Service Award winner. That will be a trend as we go through these next few sports. Moving on, we set up a cross-country championship, the Canada West Conference Championships, where the Husky men finished third, finishing on the podium for the first time since 2002, and the Husky women finished fourth. The men were led by Alexander Webster and Quincy Fast, who finished 13th and 14th, while on the women's side, Caitlin Harrison finished fourth and Jenica Swartz 10th to help the team to that fourth place finish.
Yeah, really, I think kind of went the way Coach Reindl was expecting there. A really solid run there. And I think really impressive is that men's side, finally breaking through that gap and being able to get back on the podium. Really big momentum for their team.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, huge for them to get back to that spot where they want to be in the conference. And as I mentioned, 2 cross-country community service award winners in Jared Crosschild and Caden Deck. So out of the first four potential spots in the fall that you could take that award, the Huskies have taken 3. So really setting the standard in community service for the conference.
Yeah, we've got a number of great Huskies both on and off the field, and it's great to hear these stories about them giving back.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, now kind of jumping over to the basketball teams. They opened up their 2024-25 seasons for the women, their 23-24 title defense in Calgary. It's a tough start to the season. Both teams lost both of their opening games to the Dinos, but I think I won't be surprised if the Dinos make a really deep run this year. They look like a really strong team just across the board, and for the women, I'm not too worried. I think they'll bounce back pretty well.
Yeah, for those results there, I'm a bit surprised with actually the level of play the Dinos men's basketball team played. Not that they were not a good team last year, but I think just knowing some of the guys on the team and just knowing some of the younger guys too, they're finally getting the opportunity to play there. So that's pretty cool to see as someone who was at the school and followed them a little bit there. And then, of course, they also returned 2 players that had got drafted last year to the CBL, returned to their team.
Mm-hmm.
Women's basketball, I think it's a different conference this year. Huskies, they've been a powerhouse throughout. I think with the Dinos women's team, though, it's going to be a lot closer race this year. More competition there. They were already kind of picking up steam towards the end of the season, but the Huskies really had their number. And yeah, I think a couple of players made a big jump. Miriam Cohn, one of the players to watch in women's basketball this year with the Dinos. So on this one right now, I've got a bit more to say about Calgary, but yeah, I'm excited to see our team come back home this weekend.
For sure, yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure part of it too for the Dinos was a measure of revenge after they the last game of their season was a loss to the Huskies in the youth sports championships in that quarterfinal game. So I'm sure there was a little bit of extra motivation there. But on for our team, for the Huskies, Gage Grassick, second team All Canadian last year. She was in great form to start the season. So and again, they are a very different team this year with the loss of Carly Ahlstrom. She was a one of the, I think, best players in the country for a long time. So it's a different look. I'm sure they're working some things out, but I'm sure they'll be right there at the end of the season.
Oh yeah, it's trust in the coaching staff there, of course, led by Lisa Tomaitis. Her resume is impeccable. But yeah, like you said, Gage, she's looking like she's right back in top form, and yeah, it's always tough, especially with basketball. I'd say like losing your top player on your team, and trying to figure out who's going to fill that role, who's going to step into those shoes, and yeah, we see that all the time in professional leagues as well. So it does just take some time.
Yeah, absolutely. And all right, now kind of switching gears to the ice. Our men's hockey team had a couple of pretty strong weekends. 2 weekends ago, they took on the number 2 ranked MRU Cougars, and that first night was quite the game. It ended in a 4-0 loss, but the Huskies had, I believe it was 47 penalty minutes, 27 of which were actually recorded on the ice. So they spent nearly half that game in the box. But very physical game, very heated. But then they came right back out and answered with a great performance, 4-3 win to upset the Cougars. And I think the highlight of that win was Dawson Holt scoring twice in, I think, the opening 3 minutes of that game. So got off to a great start and hung on for the upset win there.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference between the two nights, in my opinion, would be just the discipline of the team. Like you said, 47 penalty minutes is way too much. Doesn't matter what level you're playing, you're not going to win many games when you have that. But yeah, it was very physical overall for what's allowed within the bounds of Canada West. And yeah, I think they really showed up though, and they channeled that energy. The crowd gave them a great boost, and yeah, I'm loving watching this team play. It's so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they kind of continued that strong play into Manitoba this past weekend. Swept the Bisons. First game was a 4-3 shootout win. That one was really, some magic on Manitoba's side. They scored with 2 seconds left to force overtime, but then the Huskies were able to pull out the win. And then they came back on Saturday and kind of just punched them in the mouth with a 5-0 win. They were all over them. I think the Bisons recorded 16 shots, so a quiet day for Jordan Coy, who recorded the shutout there. And they pop back into the U Sports rankings this week as the number 8 team in the country. So and then they play a team who's been struggling this coming weekend. We'll get into that later, but they look really good and really strong team in the conference right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, as a goaltender, you take those days anytime you get.
For sure.
Shutout to shutout.
Yeah, and shout out to Vince Lasciavo. He recorded 2 goals and 2 assists this past weekend and was named a Canada West Athlete of the Week. Another trend we'll see as we continue going through the past games.
A lot of trends.
Well, when you got a lot of good teams, then that's going to happen. On the women's side, another couple of tough weekends for the women's team, who are still searching for their first win of the season. They dropped 2 games in Calgary to MRU, and then had a tough weekend here at MVP to the Bisons. So I think they're still trying to figure it out again. Very young team. I think a bright spot of the season has been the play of Colby Wilson in net. She's really kept them in games against some tough opponents so far this season. But they're still just trying to get that first W.
Yeah, they had a good opportunity just this past weekend to win. They're up 2-1 against Manitoba at home on the first night, the Friday night there. And then, it was unfortunately unable to hold on to that lead. But yeah, each week, they're really getting in these good games. They're putting together about 40 minutes of really good hockey, and there's just finding that way to close, finding the way to kind of push it over the edge. So, I can feel it coming. It's coming soon. Hopefully this weekend. But if not, they're building really good character throughout this all, and I think the energy's still up in the locker room from what I've been told. So that's good as well.
For sure, yeah. I do think they have probably their best chance coming up, but again, we'll jump into that later on in the show. Now back onto the court. Volleyball teams are back in action with the men opening up the 2024-25 season. Women's volleyball, they did drop both matches, but they were incredibly close. They fought really hard in those games, dropped a couple sets that went beyond the 25-point mark. And another I think just incredible performance from Taryn Hanna, who was our Husky Athlete of the Week this week. In 2 games, she put up 40 points and 36 kills to lead the effort there. But yeah, they looked really good despite the record.
Yeah, for sure. And it's important to note too that Mount Royal Cougars are historically like a powerhouse within women's volleyball, and yeah, just when you watch the Huskies play, they're doing a really good job. Like they're getting into their sets, they're running the plays they want to run, and everything's looking really smooth. And yeah, Taryn Hanna, she's really stepped up this season and become a household name for Saskatchewan. And I think that the more experience you get against good teams, the more opportunities you get to be in games like this, then it's going to flip back and forth. You win some, you lose the other. And yeah, just they got to keep playing like they have been, and the wins will come.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the men's side, it was a dominant weekend for the men. 3-0 straight sets win on Friday night, followed by a 3-1 win on Saturday, in which they did drop the first set and then came back on a mission, won 3 straight. Emmett Graham led that kind of offensive attack despite a really great all-around team performance. Another Canada West Athlete of the Week, I will add. 32.5 points, 17 kills, and incredibly efficient performances of 77% and 41% attacking percentages. Just was killing it this weekend. So yeah, they look great, and they are also ranked in the top 10 of U Sports, ranked at number 8 through the first 3 weeks of the U Sports season, but first of the men's season.
Yeah, I expect that number to keep going up. They looked absolutely incredible on the weekend. There was really nothing the Cougars could do to really get in their way. They were pretty much getting whatever they wanted. I also wanted to just shout out Jefferson Morrow, undersized hitter. For Saskatchewan. He's only 6'3", but the way he was playing above the net on the weekend was really a sight to see, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, he was on his game as well, just like Graham.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we can address the trophy in the room. With us today is the Hardy Cup trophy, as we are hosting the 87th BioSteel Hardy Cup this Saturday after just a ridiculous win on Saturday in UBC for the Husky football team. Down 13 points headed into the fourth quarter. Came all the way back to win the game 38-33 with just some mind-boggling plays there.
Elliot, I honestly, I'm not being hyperbolic here, but I honestly don't know if I've ever seen anything like it. Just watching a university sporting event, it was if you stop the clock, it was at 3 minutes, we literally throw an interception, down 11 points, 3 minutes left, and yeah, Ercy Avul comes in, pops the ball loose, and we recover it right back. Now, we end up just getting a single point on the play, but I think that really fueled that turnaround and just gave that team that extra belief that, hey, you know what, we are a team that there's something special with our team, and we just got to keep believing, we got to keep fighting, and we're gonna win this game
for sure. Yeah, and we've I don't want to say we've become accustomed to it, but it is a bit of a trend, another trend this week for this team this season. They've had some great comeback wins against some really good teams, and this was no different. After that play, we saw an onside kick recovery that, frankly, it looked like UBC didn't know what was going on. They looked like there were 6 or 7 Huskies around the ball when it was coming down. And between Lane Novak, who's on the show later today, and Catley Joseph, they came away with the ball, setting up a touchdown drive from Riker Frank, which it was just a masterclass in power football. 4 carries for 52 yards into the end zone to put the Huskies up 38-33. And then the defense, they held strong and didn't allow that final push from the UBC Thunderbirds, and they moved on.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a legendary performance there from the Huskies, and then who else but Riker, Frank, to
Yeah.
ice the game there. It's like you just kind of you're at the point where like, oh, are we gonna get a field goal? Are we, like let's just get in range as a fan, right? And then
Yeah.
of course Riker just busts one out to the right side like he always does, and yeah, it's just so great to see. And then yeah, the one thing we skipped over there too is Ercy also his
Oh yeah, of
touchdown.
course.
Yeah,
Okay.
little pump fake from Anton, and it sprung Ercy down the left side and got done in front of his mom, which he'll also be on the show and talk a
Yeah.
bit about later.
For sure, yeah, and just I mean, for him, what a day from the rookie wide receiver. And then they have the benefit of coming out of that game and seeing that the Regina Rams upset the number 1 seed Manitoba Bisons, and they get to host the Hardy Cup.
Yeah, the BioSteel Hardy Cup at that as well. But basically everything that could go right at the end of the game, obviously, everything that could go right for them went right. This is exactly how you would have wanted it if you're Saskatchewan. Now, if I would have told you at the start of the year, 0-2, 1-3, would we think that we're going to be in this position to host the Hardy Cup even if we looked at Regina? Would we be in that position? No, but some way somehow it happened, and here we are, and I'm fired up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be awesome. And saying that, why don't we jump into our interviews to help preview this weekend and this championship game we get to host with we got Lane Novak and Ercy Avul, as we mentioned, coming up. Pair of great interviews sponsored by Original 16. So let's go and see what they have to say.
Let's do it. You won't want to miss this.
Hey Husky fans, Huskies Unleashed is brought to you by Innovation Federal Credit Union. Open a no-fee bank account and earn $50. Simply enter the promo code Husky50 when applying and save about $11 every month. Enjoy free and unlimited Interact e-transfer services. Discover a lifelong bank account that's still free when you're done school. And bank anywhere, anytime across Canada and internationally. Welcome back to the Huskies Unleashed podcast. It's time for our first interview with Ercy Avul from the Husky football team. This interview is presented by Original 16. Ercy, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, nice to have you here, Ercy. Of course, as everyone knows by now, you had a very big role in bringing the Huskies back in that incredible win last weekend out in UBC. So just first of all, like what was going through your head in those final 3 minutes there?
Well, we were down, and I was just thinking, man, if this is the last game we're playing with some of the guys that I became close with over the years, then I feel like we just got to go and give it our all. And so it just went from being kind of sad, but being like enjoying the moment, and then being like, oh, we can actually win, and then we actually won. So that was pretty cool.
So would you say that like there was still that belief though, like within the team that, if you kept working, like you could come back and win it? Or was it almost like you were saying, just kind of really just playing for pride at that point?
I think it was for sure we still believed because the thing is with football, I feel like things could change so fast and momentum so big. So once you get the momentum, it's like you're kind of unstoppable until you're not. So I feel like we still had the belief until like really the last whistle. And so yeah.
And it was one of your plays that kind of kicked off that comeback. You guys had traded some possessions and gotten a couple, or kicked a field goal, and then Anton almost threw. Well, he did throw a pick, and then you made like the play of the game. I think if you don't make that forced fumble on the interception, you guys have a lot more difficulty trying to come back in that game. Once you kind of saw that the UBC defensive back picked that off, what kind of sprung your action there?
So usually when there's an interception, I'm just thinking, okay, like I get really mad, and so I just want to tackle the guy. And so my only tackle of the year, this year so far was against UBC the first time. It was off a pick, and then this time it was a pick, and I was like, okay, I'll just make the tackle. But I didn't expect like the ball to come out, so I didn't see it until I saw like my friend dive on, or my teammate dive on the ball, and I was just excited in the moment.
Yeah, we've got the play here for you to watch. And like, yeah, if you look at it, you can you can see that you actually get your helmet on the ball, I think. Pretty good.
Yep.
And here.
There we go. But yeah, no, that was pretty cool. It all happened so fast. It was just I don't know. That was dope.
Yeah, it is very cool. I'm sure to look back and there's obviously a string of plays after that lead to the comeback. But I really that from watching the game, I think that was really what kicked it off. And then not too much later, you haul in a 33-yard touchdown going down the sideline. Tell me about that play.
That one was like it was interesting because my coach the play before was like Ercy like be ready, right? And then so we called it, but the first time it didn't go to me. And then we called it right after, and then it was I felt like I was like really open, and then I was like, I don't know if the ball will come. But then I saw the ball and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I scored, and it was cool being like back at home and with my mom and stuff there. So that was pretty cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah, because you're from Abbotsford, right?
Yeah, I'm from Abbotsford.
Yeah, so that must have been nice, just to have your family out there and then for them to watch you. Have you ever had a moment like that in front of them?
Nah, like I've obviously played in front of my mom, but I've never had like as big of a like role in the game. I think with my parents watching and my friends and like yeah, so that was pretty special.
For sure. And yeah, we've got this one for you too. Here we go. One, I'll let you react to it first.
Yup. Just don't drop it. And then it got in. And I wanted to dance after, but I remember we were losing still, so I had to stop myself real quick. But yeah. But no, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you had about like what it looked like 7 or 8 yards of separation.
Yeah. Oh, my knees all bloody. It was just yeah.
And on that play, I noticed like when I watched the replay, it looked like Anton he pump faked. Was that was the route combination? Was it a stop and go there? Like was it part of the call or was it just something he did on the fly?
I think it's just something he did because it was the play doesn't call for a pump, but I think it was smart that he did that because it made the guy that was guarding me go down on the other route because we just called the exact same play. So I think with him doing it really quick and then launching it, that's what really like gave me the separation I needed. So I didn't even see that till like I saw the game, the replay after too. So that was pretty cool.
It's awesome. And so now, kind of switching gears, now that you guys complete that crazy comeback, and now you get the benefit of Regina also pulling off a huge upset over Manitoba to host the Hardy Cup. Kind of, I'm sure going into that game, you guys obviously you think you can beat UBC, and it plays out that way. But I'm sure it was kind of an outside chance that you guys were thinking that you would be able to play at home in this game. So kind of how does that feel to be able to host the biggest game of the season thus far?
I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, my first year, the team made the Hardy Cup, but obviously I wasn't playing. But it was dope to watch everyone like playing it, and obviously you want to play in it one day. And so we were expecting to play in Manitoba, but playing at home in the Hardy, and so you have the opportunity to play like in this like big game where like after you win, they'll like write your team on the cup and everything, and you get a medal. That's pretty cool. So I think it's pretty special, and also it's like a provincial rivalry, so I think that will make the game even better. So
yeah, for sure. I'm sure that adds another layer to it. Absolutely.
And you've already played Regina twice now this season. One at the start of the year, one just obviously very recently. 1-1 in those games. How do you feel about how your team matches up with them, and what do you kind of think your advantages are there?
I think we match up really well, especially being as the last time we played them, we won. I think both teams are gonna just come in and it's gonna be like a really like competitive game. I think our advantages is really being at home and just our attitude and just trusting each other. And if we trust each other, then it's like we'll all work together, just focus on our own thing, and by the end of it, we'll win the game. So that'll be pretty dope.
Awesome, yeah. And so as you mentioned, you lose the first game, and at that point, you guys I think went to 0-2. We know you end up starting the season the first 4 3-1, and now winning 5 straight, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a lot of the guys kind of talk about the the turnaround there, and that there wasn't really a turning point, but it was kind of just you get that first or that second win, I guess, against Manitoba, and you kind of just start rolling. So kind of tell me about the whole process of kind of guys turning around your season to get to this game.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, we won homecoming, and then we went to UBC, lost, and then after that, I think when we came home and then we played, I think it was Alberta, and we had a comeback. I feel like the comeback is what really was like, hey, like we know we could like beat these teams, and then we beat undefeated Manitoba, so that was like really big. And then you go into bye week and you regenerate. Then you get some of the guys that were like injured, probably not playing at the beginning of the year. So now the confidence is really going, and then you just keep winning. And then with this win against UBC on the road too, it's like finally you get to come back home, and now, yeah, that would be pretty special.
Yeah, it's been very special to watch, for sure. And then yeah, just kind of going towards that like that mindset there was that belief that you've kind of been able to come back like all season. Was that the message that was shared at halftime of that UBC game?
I feel like for the halftime of UBC, it was just focusing on what we do, and not trying to focus on the result too much. Just worry about like whatever play is happening, and then just try to make the best out of it. But I feel like in the middle of the year, when we still had the losing record, that was more so like, okay, we can't keep saying that we're gonna like come back or do something. We just got to do it. So I think yeah, we just did it, and so that's.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, obviously 5 straight. You beat now every team in the conference at least once.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's got to feel, you guys are feeling pretty good and feeling like you can beat anybody right now.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And I think also having the fans back cheering is gonna be pretty big. So yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, just a couple more questions for you from me. First one is just obviously super deep receiver room that you've got.
Mhm.
I think it's really cool that we've seen like you stepped up big last game. Rhett also stepped up really big. And Daniel's obviously kind of been leading the charge for you guys this season. But what's it like to play and go to practice with those guys each week? And how do you kind of like challenge each other to work harder, and also like you also obviously want to be in the game and in those moments, so like kind of how do you balance all that?
I think it's pretty cool. You just watch the older guys. They've all always been here since I've been here. So it's kind of cool watching them do what they're doing, and then actually being in like practice and like doing it right next to them, and then doing it in game right next to them. So that's pretty cool. I think just realizing that like you're playing with them for a reason too, because at some point the way Rhett and Daniel are like to me, I'm gonna be to like someone younger in the future. So I think it's just like important to just like enjoy it, but also and learn, but also like realize you're there for a reason too. And so yeah.
That's a great perspective. And unless you got anything else, Elliot, what's your message, Ercy, to around campus here for all the Saskatoon fans? And yeah, what do you want to say to them?
Which camera? This one. Yeah. Come to the game this Saturday is gonna be a great game. A lot of energy, a lot of hopefully dancing and celebrating. I think it'll just be a lot of fun. Just you come watch us, you'll have a good time. You'll forget about the cold weather. You'll just be so entertained by the game, and so yeah, just come out.
Awesome. Appreciate you joining us here, RC.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for having
amazing.
me.
Thanks. All right, everyone, welcome back in. We've got our second guest here with us, Lane Novak. Thanks for being on, Lane.
Yeah, no problem.
Linebacker with Husky football. Of course, interviews brought to you by Original 16. And yeah, so we're preparing for the Hardy Cup here, but just want to take a quick moment to reflect on that incredible victory out there in BC. What was kind of going through your guys' heads the last like 3 minutes of the game there, and what does that comeback mean to you?
It's kind of been a representation of our whole season. We started off pretty rough, and obviously have been turning around since then. But I'd say the team itself just never gave up. And so in the last 3 minutes of the game, I remember talking to guys on the sideline. It's like, we're going to score, and then we're going to kick an onside kick, and we're going to win the game. And there was, everybody kind of had that belief. Nobody was hanging their heads. We knew that we were in it. And Ercy's play was Ercy was just on here. It was kind of just that play that gave us that belief as well, that like, man, like things can go our way. And so nobody dipped their heads and just got to work and got it done. So yes, definitely a huge point for our team. And yeah.
And you mentioned the onside kick. You were right there for that play. And you basically were watching Catley grab that ball. Kind of walk me through what you saw there.
So as I left the line, as the ball was kicked, I knew it wasn't going to make it all the way to the sideline. And so I'm not supposed to be the guy that's underneath the ball or that makes the play on the ball. As I saw it go up, I knew it wasn't going to make it all the sidelines. Like, oh damn, like this is going to be short. I got to get going. So I got going. I put my head down, found the guy that I had to go hit, and I looked up again, and the ball was going to land right on top of me. And so I put my arms out, and as I hit the guy, it kind of hit my hands and bounced up in the air. And it was like, oh my God. And I went to grab it, and I put my arm out to grab it, and then Catley came swooping in, both hands, brought it in. I was like, losing it, and so I grabbed Catley and just started pulling. It's like, we're gonna get as many yards as we can. But no, I didn't figure I was gonna be the one to be right there on the ball, but it worked out the right way.
That's awesome. And then just after that, you guys, so obviously the Riker goes 52 yards and 4 carries and scores, and then you guys come back out on defense, and kind of just like, what's that like prevent situation like? Like what's kind of going through your head? Are you just trying to find somebody to cover, or what's going on there?
Yeah, you're trying to. So obviously we play a little loose, and it all depends on how much time's left on the clock. And so you're trying to make sure they don't get out of bounds, because if they get out of bounds, they stop the clock. Mm-hmm. We knew at that point they didn't have any timeouts, so they had maybe 3 plays. So and it's a loose zone type of thing of linebackers, and everybody kind of drops back. And then you're kind of just looking for some sort of drag. You're trying to just find somebody coming through your zone. And they did actually complete one drag, but then very last play with 3 seconds left, it's just everybody get back. And Catley ended up making a great play. They had a great play called up. Yeah, you can when you catch the ball, you're allowed to punt it forward, and then anyone behind that is eligible to go get it. So they had a great play drawn up, but Catley jumped on it, and zeros were on the clock.
Awesome.
And yeah, overall, I'd say like really just we were kind of talking before the podcast, but just a big turnaround kind of in the season that we've kind of noticed. What do you think you'd like attribute to that? Just really starting with at the start of the season, we know defense, there was maybe some struggles on the start of the year for the defense, still giving up maybe more points than you'd like to each game. But I'd say one thing I've noticed is that at the end of the games, when it really matters, you guys are really able to always find those stops. So yeah, kind of can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, so back to the start of the season, kind of the struggles and where it turned around. For one, there was just a mentality switch in the room. We've been pretty blessed in being able to win a lot of games based on talent and based on, and we've always been a hardworking team, always wanted it, but we'd kind of just gotten our way and always been doing a lot of winning. And so going into this year, I think we were just a little too privileged, and we got punched in the mouth. So mentality changed going into week 5, and a couple of crazy victories where we were able to pull them out, and that belief kind of changed. Like, hey, we're gonna have to claw our way to every victory. And on the defensive side of the ball, absolutely, we were struggling early in the year. We grew up. We had some younger guys that developed really quickly, found their way really quickly, and have turned from guys that were struggling to guys that are excelling, and then mentally as well. Young guys get older, and then the old guys get older as well. We figure out how to deal with those moments. We figure out how to complement the offense in times that we need to, and late in games when you can't give up points, being able to do that and being able to hold tough is super important.
No doubt. And yeah, I hear you talk, I can just hear like a very level-headed approach, and just your leadership, like it really comes through while you're speaking. Can you just talk a bit more about, you're on your third year or fourth year?
Fourth year.
Fourth year with the team now.
Yeah.
You've been to on 2 Vanier runs before. You were the young guy on the team. Now you're in that mentor role. So
Yeah.
what's that like for you, and what's the message you've been giving to your teammates?
That was, no, absolutely. That's kind of the role that I was aspiring to be in this year, kind of role I took on, and that's the case. It's, as you get older, those guys disappear, so someone has to step up. So I've really enjoyed that role. I've always tried to be vocal in between plays, like being very situationally aware where we are in games, where we are in moments, what that other team might be doing, kind of just talking to my guys. So I actually do the play calling as well. Like Coach Musica sends it to me and I talk to everybody. And so I kind of am able to talk to everyone pre-snap and in between snaps, whatever, take a deep breath or, hey, alert the shot or whatever it is. And with young guys, it's, and in my role, it is. I try to be very level-headed in that moment. Try to stay calm even when the moments are big. Because if I am, then maybe other guys realize, hey, like I can take a breath too, and just kind of be that solid point in the middle of the defense that everyone can look to, and I hope to continue to do that going forward.
It's awesome. We're looking forward to it, to see you do it. Now, kind of switching back to the season, you guys have had, I don't know if you want to call it a slogan or a motto this year, that load the wagons.
Wagon.
And for those of us like myself who aren't totally aware of the background of that, and like kind of explain where it came from and just what it means to the team.
So it is funny because it was established right when we turned it around in week 5. So we were 1-3 after week 4. And Coach Flory came into meetings, and he said this quote from a coach. I can't even remember who it was, but he said, and he asked us if anyone knew what it meant, and he said, "It doesn't matter if the horse is blind, just keep loading the wagon." And he asked if anyone knew what it meant. I don't know, and everyone's like trying to figure it. And then he's like, "Just means do your job." And so the point is that, if someone's telling you to load the wagon, so your job is to load the wagon, you're not looking at your surroundings. You're not looking at what's going on. It doesn't matter. The horse could be dead. The horse could be blind. The horse could have 3 legs. It doesn't matter. That's something for somebody else to worry about. If you're told to load the wagon, then you load the wagon. So everybody bought in, and the same thing's applicable on the football field. All 24 guys have a job to do. And when guys start doing too much or trying to do too much or try to do somebody else's job, then, that's where mistakes happen, and that's where big plays end up happening against us. So just buy in, do your job to the best of your ability, and that's kind of where the load the wagon thing came from.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's pretty cool that it happened right when you guys started the run.
Yes.
It's like very, very neat coincidence.
It is.
Yeah, it's super, super cool that you have that. And I think it's also like a good perspective just for anyone really to kind of take that approach and, just knowing what you have to do in all situations. And it does catch me a bit earlier, something you said on the onside kickoff there, though. Like, how do you balance it when like the real game comes at you? So like in that situation where like on the fly, you have to make a decision where, this is my job now versus this was my job before.
And that's actually a great question, and it's a struggle oftentimes, and you see where guys run into those predicaments on the film, and maybe you don't see it as much during the game, but when you slow it down in film, you see these things happening. And so everybody has a job, and everybody knows their job. But when you boil it down at the very end of it, you do your job until at some point you just have to play football. And that's the way we say it in the room is, you're doing your job, but eventually, if someone else messes up or someone else doesn't do their job and you got to help them out, well, then you just go play football. Or, something happened that isn't exactly the way we look it up. Well, maybe you just gotta stick your head in there and hit somebody, or maybe you gotta, pursue crazily on one play, whatever it is. So yeah, do your job, but eventually just play football.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Now kind of we'll look ahead to this Saturday. We got obviously the biggest game of the season thus far coming up. It'll be the second or third Hardy Cup you've played at home.
Third. I've played at
all of them have been at home.
Yeah.
So kind of what is that like? I'm sure coming out of that game on last Saturday, you're thinking you're going to Manitoba with they're 7-1, they're taking on a Regina team who kind of squeaked into the playoffs with a comeback win. What's that feeling when you come out and you're like, oh my God, we get to host this game?
We always knew it was going to be a possibility. So whether we predicted it or not, or you kind of have to prepare for all circumstances, and it was the one that probably worked out best for us. So we did know going into it that there was an opportunity that Regina could win, and based on their prior matchups in the season, they'd both been really tight games when Regina played Manitoba. So, and that's the crazy thing about playoff football is the record doesn't matter. When you get there, it's a different type of football. It's tough football, and so going into this game, yeah, we know that being the Battle of the Prairies here again for a Hardy Cup playoff game, the stands are going to be packed. There's going to be, like I said, all sorts of distractions, and that's where the low the wagon comes in. Is don't worry about the fans, don't worry about the fireworks, don't worry about all the outside distractions. Just worry about doing our job. And so we know Regina is going to be a good team. We know they're going to throw some stuff at us. At the end of the day, it comes down to us and how well we execute. And so it should be a damn good game on Saturday.
No doubt.
Yeah, and you're from this province, born and raised. What do you think the impact of this game will be for a province that's like so football crazed to begin with?
Yeah, it's exciting in that sense. I grew up playing football here. Obviously, been a Rider fan for a long time. I grew up just outside of Regina, so I was aware of the Rams. And then I came up through the football Sask program, so I actually have quite a few ties through the Rams. And then obviously a history here with the Huskies. So it's super exciting. It's been a while since there was a Hardy between our two programs, and it's been a battle of the Prairies here. And so yeah, it's I don't know. I'm actually at a loss of words because it's something that's super exciting and super passionate to me. That it's there's the rivalry on top of it, but Sask really has been that province where football has grown so greatly in the last couple of years, and we've seen it in our football Sask programs. It's just exciting. You're gonna see it in the energy on the field on that day. You're gonna see it in the way the two teams clash, and I'm really excited for it.
And getting back to the actual play on the field there, 1-1 obviously this season against Regina. Where do you kind of see your style and their style, and how does that kind of contrast? And I'm not asking it in a good way, I feel, but how do you guys feel with your style of play heading into the game?
Yeah, they got a strong defense, and we've developed into a strong defense here this later in the year. We've got a little bit more of a running attack on offense. They're a little more focused on their passing. However, the last couple of weeks, they've been successful in the run with Christian Katende being back and Marshall Erickson there in the backfield as well. Styles wise, I think we are two fairly different teams, but the one similarity is the physicality for sure. They're going to be coming out guns a-blazing. They're going to be physical right from the bat. They're going to be looking to hit somebody, and we're going to be doing the exact same thing. So while the two styles of offenses and defenses may be different, and that same kind of prairie toughness, I guess, if you want to say it that way, where both teams are going to come out and play a physical football game, I'd say that's where we're very similar.
Sounds good. Thanks, Lane.
Yeah. Appreciate it. We guess we'll close it out here. If you want to tell something to the fans who are thinking maybe on the fence about what they're going to do Saturday, thinking it's, I don't know, too cold or something. Maybe you want to say something to them about why they should come out here.
Well, it's not going to be too cold for November in Saskatchewan. This is as nice of weather as we're going to get. Supposed to be 10 degrees and sunny, which is very nice for us. The energy is going to be awesome. There's going to be all sorts of people from all over the province here, little kids all the way up to grandparents and family, and it's just going to be a great environment. Fireworks, pads clanging, literally anything you want, you're going to get it if you show up on Saturday.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate you joining us, and we're looking forward to watching you hopefully lift that cup up on Saturday.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, hopefully me too.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Hey, Husky fans. The Huskies Unleashed podcast is brought to you by Innovation Federal Credit Union, now offering no essay scholarships. Need help with education costs minus the hassle of writing that dreaded scholarship essay? Well, you're in luck. Enter for a chance to win one of 4 monthly $1,000 scholarship draws or our $10,000 scholarship draw. Just head on over to innovationcu.ca and do the application from there.
All right, welcome back into our studio at Smucker's Lounge here to the Huskies Unleashed podcast. We're now gonna take a look at the weekend ahead, potentially 2 weeks, and we'll kick things off with back at cross country. The Husky cross country teams are heading out to Kelowna, BC for the Youth Sports Cross Country Championships. Those are taking place at on Saturday. Men's race gets going at noon, women's at 1. I believe that is Pacific time. Don't ask me to convert those because it's not my strong suit. They're looking for a strong performance this year. I think I talked to head coach Jason Reindl. Men's team are aiming for a top 10 finish there nationally, while the women, I think, it's still kind of their expectations are tempered based on some injuries, as we mentioned with the conference championships. So I'm sure, though, we're expecting another great performance from Caitlin Harrison, who's just been killing it this year. Sorry. So yeah, stay tuned. You can catch that on cbcsports.ca. It's live streamed there.
Yeah, I'm a bit better with the times differences. So it's the men will be at 10 a.m. Saskatchewan time, and then the women will be running at 11 a.m. Sorry, I got a bit thrown off with the PM. It's easy to happen, but yeah, not a bad time to take a trip out to Kelowna. And yeah, I think Caitlin on the women's side, and then our athlete to watch on the men's side, Alexander Webster. He'd have to really have something special stored in the tank, but you never know what could happen on championship weekend.
For sure, yeah. Now we'll jump over football and come back. We'll finish with that one, as it is probably the biggest game of the week. And we'll go to our basketball teams. They are home for the first time this season, taking on the Manitoba Bisons. For the women's team, we will see a new banner added to the pack, with the 23-24 championship banner added on Friday night. And yeah, they're looking for a bounce back weekend, looking to get back into the win column.
Yeah, I think against the Bisons, they'll definitely be looking and should be favored to do that. And it'll be nice for them to get back out in front of the home crowd. And it's cool that basketball will be back in Saskatoon. It feels like it's been a long time since, we've had any basketball really to talk about. So it's good that it's back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The Bisons have only played one game so far this season, but I think definitely on both sides, it'll be great matchups. Now we also get men's hockey back at home this weekend. They're taking on a struggling Trinity Western Spartan team who's got a 2-6 record through 8 games this season. They'll play again Friday, Saturday night, 7-5. And they're looking to, really take this great weekend against the Manitoba and their second win against MRU, and turn this into a winning streak. So, and I think they got a great chance. They pretty much rank ahead of the Spartans in every statistical category in conference play. So, I think they're going in feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, and these are the games that you really got to take care of, especially on home ice. And I think they'll be up for the challenge for that. And then it just helps you set yourself up better when you get those big matchups with the Albertas, with the MRUs, with the Calgarys, and those kind of must-win games. But you got to take care of business, and especially at home. On Saturday, we've got our Sudsy Saturday night promo going on. It's the first one of the year. You get 1 ticket, and you also get 2 beers or ciders with that. That's Great Western products. So a really good deal, and would encourage everyone to go get your tickets to that. It's HuskieTickets.com. So yeah, it should be a great time.
All right, now flipping to the women's side, our women's hockey team takes their lone trip out to the province of British Columbia, where they will also face off with the Spartans. This is a matchup of fourth place teams in their respective East and West divisions. So I think best chance for women's hockey to pick up that first win, as the Spartans have struggled in conference play as well so far this season. It will be interesting to see how the special teams shakes out, as both teams are, kind of lacking in that power play department, with Saskatchewan converting on 12.5% and Trinity Western at the second worst in the conference at just 8%.
Mm-hmm. And I would say just going into that, last weekend, actually, Saskatchewan actually scored 2 power play goals. So maybe that's a bit of a trend of they might be doing a bit better. Maybe they figured something out these last couple of weeks. So yeah, it is a good, interesting thing to watch. Only thing I'm a bit worried about is just the travel schedule there, and getting thrown off of coming in and playing a game at 9 p.m. Usually by then you might be winding down for the night. So
Yeah.
just making sure that all the girls are ready to go and ready to play in that game.
For sure, yeah, and the Huskies will definitely want to stay out of the box, as their penalty kill percentage is just 75% so far this season. They have played some of the better power play units in the conference so far, but yeah, they'll definitely want to limit those penalties. Now flipping to the court, back to the court. Our volleyball teams head on their first road trip of the season. They will head to Brandon, Manitoba, to take on the Bobcats. On the women's side, definitely the team's looking to continue their strong play and hopefully come out with a win or two this weekend. While the men's it is actually a U Sports top 10 matchup this weekend, with our men of course ranked number 8 against the Bobcats, who are number 9 in the country right now.
Yeah, that should be a good game. I know Brandon's always a good big volleyball school there out in Manitoba, so I'm sure that'll be a packed building and they'll have a lot of fans out there. So yeah, that'll be a good one. And then yeah, I'm excited to see how like our women's team will play on the road. A couple of home games here to open up the season, so that'll be a big test for them as well.
For sure, yeah. I do think I'm not sure who Brandon has played yet this season, but they have struggled in their first
Okay.
weekend. They currently rank last in every statistical
Okay.
category in the conference.
Okay.
So I don't know if they played one of the best programs in the country. They might have, but potentially a weekend that the women can take advantage of.
Right. That's a good note.
Yeah, and then now we got to end with the 87th BioSteel Hardy Cup that will be taking place at 1 p.m. at Griffith Stadium this weekend. Huge game for both programs, and I think everybody's really excited for this one.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you can't write it any better. Battle of Saskatchewan. You've got football. It's going to be a nice day outside. Tickets are affordable. You can come on down, HuskieTickets.com. There's plenty of spots available right now, but I wouldn't count on that being the case by the end of the week. So, get your tickets, and yeah, it's going to be one of the biggest sporting events we've seen this year in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually just the second time in the history of the conference that Regina and Saskatchewan have met in the last game of the conference season. Last time was 2002, which is actually just the third season the Rams were in U Sports football. And the Huskies did advance in that season also to a Mitchell Bowl, which is where they would advance this year with a win, with a 44-28 victory over the Rams. So yeah, another chapter in a really storied rivalry that we're excited to watch.
Interesting stat for Regina, their first season on their website, the Rams are went 0 of 8 in their first season. Very next year, they come back, go on a nice playoff run, and ultimately make the Vanier Cup. So we've seen crazy things happen before in U Sports football, and I think we've got a great game on our hands.
Yeah, of course, the preferable outcome is to watch the Huskies claim their 22nd Hardy Cup in program history, and if they did so, we would be back at Griffiths next weekend hosting the U Sports Mitchell Bowl, in a matchup of the Huskies versus the champion of the RESQ conference out in Quebec, which is either the Laval Rougeaur or Montreal Carabin, and they're playing in the Dunsmore Cup out there. So potentially another exciting weekend on our hands.
Yeah, both those teams, very storied programs. They also have some history with the Huskies. Of course, Huskies a couple years back went into Montreal, beat the Carabins on their home turf in the UTEC Bowl, which is the other side of the Mitchell Bowl, the parallels there. And yeah, just a great opportunity. This team's been in the mix for a couple years. The Huskies have been since that, kind of turn of the early 2020s there. But would be our first opportunity to host a bowl game of that magnitude in a while. So certainly something that everyone here is just rooting them on and really hoping for. So
yeah, absolutely. But of course, first comes the Hardy Cup. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, HuskieTickets.com for the Hardy Cup, and yeah, keep an eye on that final scoreboard for potentially another home game.
For sure, this has been another episode, a very special episode of the Huskies Unleashed podcast. And yeah, like Elliot said, go buy your tickets to the 87th BioSteel Hardy Cup. Till next time, see you later.